Good evening, everybody. How are you? This is Kathy with Kincaid Special Creations coming to you with another one of my West Virginia Wednesday nights. We are going live. Currently, I'm waiting on people to come in, but I hope you join us and I hope you enjoy what we're going to talk about this evening. Today, we are going to talk about a town here in West Virginia called Thurmond. But I'm going to wait till a few people get in before I start talking because all this is very interesting and I'd like for people to hear it. So we're going to wait. Hello. Hey, Tim. I see your avatar. I know that's you. How are you guys doing? Let me see if I can get in here. We're going to talk about one of the cities here in West Virginia today. Uh-oh. Got to close me out. I'm talking to me again. There we go. I forget that every time when I'm doing something. Like earlier I was reviewing a video. Hey Lisa, hey Scott, hey Jennifer, hey Christy, hey Stevie, hey Tim, hey Chansu, Brian. Good job, guys. Thank you. It's a snowy, cold day here in Ansted, West Virginia, so I am enjoying spending some day doing YouTube stuff. My hot water froze last night, so it finally thawed out about an hour ago. So I rushed real quick to do a load of dishes and a load of laundry. Keep that water flowing. Anybody else have trouble with the water freezing this winter? Hey, Chris. Glad to see you made it in. Somebody might have to remind Mandy. She's a busy lady these days. Alright, so let's see what the comments are saying. Brian said howdy. Hello, buddy. Jan said hi. Stevie said hi. Oh, come on. Are you cold, Stephen? It was, Mandy said it was 9 degrees below zero in Summersville this morning. Below zero. We haven't had those days in a mighty long time. Has anybody else noticed, this doesn't have anything to do with Thurmond, but has anybody else noticed all the once in a lifetime or once in 1,000 years or once in 500 years or whatever, once in a century, things that's happened over the last 10 years? Isn't that a little strange that they're all culminating all in the same decade type thing? It's interesting. Let me get some of these things read. Yeah, they said it was going to be chilly down in Florida, Janet. Did you get any snow? They know there's snow in like Mississippi, Texas, Alabama, places like that. No snow yet? Holy cow, Janet K. 8 ounces of snow? When was the last time they had snow in Biloxi, Mississippi? Yes, Brian, I actually sat down to a really nice Bible thing today. It's called 365 something. She was talking about the heartbeat of God and how it's in every verse. If you look for it, if you seek it out, if you really listen to it, how it all ties in from the beginning to the end. It's a really interesting series. I'll link that somewhere in something I'm doing so that if anybody's interested in picking it up, maybe I'll just link it to this group. If anybody's interested, I mean, you can either study your Bible or you can just listen to her, and she is very good at what she does. Very good. Hey Mandy, how are you? Well, we're going to talk about Thurmond today, and I found some very interesting facts that I'll tell you at the very end of this video because it even excited me when I found it. But Thurmond is a small town. I think you take in, Timmy could tell you, Mount Hope, you take an exit, a road off of Mount Hope, and it takes you down into the Thurmond area. You know, when he drives, I don't pay any attention because he's a very good driver and he knows where he's going, and I trust him to know what he's doing. So I just enjoy the view. Me and Sam do the riding. We sit back with ourselves all propped up and we just keep on going. Well, he took us down into Thurmond about a month ago, and it was wonderful. There we were sitting down there. We rode through the whole town. We rode up and behind it where all the coal mine houses were that they built and everything. And they got, each one of those little houses have names on them of the people that lived on them at the time. And it was just absolutely wonderful. We stopped by the depot and we watched 2 or 3 trains go by. We took one video of Sam watching the train go by. The funny thing about Thurmond is it doesn't have a main street. You don't drive down Thurmond's main street. The main street at the time, and even to this day, is the railroad tracks. And off of the buildings themselves, it is simply a probably less than 15 feet from the door of the building to where the train tracks are at. There's several different buildings left standing down there, so if anybody watching this gets a chance to ride down into Thurmond and find some history, I think you would really enjoy it. I want to have Timmy take me back down in there, and this time take a video camera along with the information that I have found out, and go through and do a walking video to put up on so that people can, have a visual of what I'm talking about. But it was incorporated in 1903. And it was incorporated by the circuit court of the county at that time, I'm assuming. I did not realize that we have a mayor and a governor and then on into a president. But what runs your county is the county commission. The county commission actually runs your county. So whoever you vote for county commissioner is actually technically the up version of a mayor. So, but I never know that. I mean, I've seen county commissioner on a list, but I didn't know that's who he was. When it was done, when it was situated up, it's 1,041 feet at sea level. Now you would think that's right off the New River, it wouldn't be that high, but yeah, we're quite a bit higher here in Ansted, and Mandy's even higher up at Summersville than we are at sea level. That doesn't mean off the water level, it just means off the sea level. Let me see where I lost y'all at. Oh man, it's below zero everywhere. Hey, woohoo! Everybody getting some 8 inches of snow. I don't even think we might have got that all in total with all the snowstorms that we had, because you go through and you clean off the snow, and then you get up the next morning and the camper would have some more snow, or the truck would have more snow on it. Whatever you clean off would have more snow on it. That last day, when we went to bed, Tim had the side-by-side out. He brought it back in, and it had a good 3 inches of snow on the top of it. So, yeah, it just kept coming and coming. So I'm glad today it was absolutely beautiful and sunshiny, and I can say that because the sun won't be out this time of night anyway, so it can't hide itself. I'm not going to tell you about Captain Thurmond yet. He was what was named after. But there was a guy that was commissioned by the C&O Railroad to come through the gorge. He had to actually walk, because at that time the railroad track would come down to Quinemont, and it came up from the west all the way up to Hawks Nest. But from Hawks Nest to Quinemont there was no railroad track. So they commissioned a geologist to come through and see whether it was worthy of the information to put a train track from Quinemont to Hawks Nest. Actually, technically, it would have been connecting it from Virginia to Kentucky. It would have been gone that whole long past. And when he come back, when the geologist come back, he said there was a wealth of oil, of coal, and all kinds of different minerals. So it made it worthwhile. But what was the most interesting? Now this happened in, thinking in 1882 was when 1884 was when this happened. And he come back and told the guy it was an absolutely beautiful area for tourism. Almost 100 years before the tourist industry picked up here in West Virginia to be actually through the gorge area to the beauty. But this geologist said there were so many beautiful things between the cliff sides on the mountain and the water with the pools in the New River and the waterfalls that fell. He said it was absolutely beautiful. But of course, the C&O Railroad guys was only interested in, did it have something that could make them money? At that time, tourism wasn't they didn't think was a thing. Not like it is today, but actually it turned out to be even in that time. So what they did was, they built the railroad. The last part of it was put together 3 miles east of Hawksnest. I wanted to say Sunnybrook, but that might not have been the name of it. But anyway, at that little area, that's where the last peg to connect the railroad from Virginia to Kentucky, that's where it was put in at. And then, let me get on to the next page. I wrote all this down so I could try to keep it together. After its completion, the coal mines were formed from Quinnamont all the way to Hawksnest. 42 of them. 42 different coal mines in that little span. I think it was 30 miles. So that was a coal mine less than every mile apart from each other. So it's no wonder that, you know, everybody was scrambling in there. All the coal barons were scrambling in there trying to make sure they got their spot of the money. The person that, of course, got the land was W.D. Thurmond. He was a captain in the Civil War. After the Civil War was done, he became a surveyor of land. And he surveyed the land down in there for another guy. And his payment for it was 73 acres in that area. He wanted that 73 acres. So he did, and then I guess he set up housekeeping, and then it became a town. And then, of course, when the railroad man come through and did the survey, and the railroad come through, that became a part for him to, create the town of Thurmond. Not that it was incorporated at that time, but he wanted that town. And then when it was incorporated, it was officially named Thurmond. On the boundaries of his land was another fella by the name of Thomas McKeel. Thomas McKeel bought the property, half of Thurmond, where Thurmond's town is, and then half on the other side. His wife's father-in-law, passed away, and he had some kind of big wealthy estate, and that was part of it. So when Thomas McKeel come to West Virginia and looked in down there in that area, he went back to wherever it was he lived, and he told his wife's family and the heirs that we'll take that. That'll be her part of the share of the stuff. Y'all can have the rest of it. Well, little be known to them how much it was going to become important in the family. So he owned, Thurmond owned the western and the down on the bottom, down where the town was at, that part of Thurmond. And McKeel owned the upper and the eastern part of Thurmond. So they in Thurmond, there was a grocery store, a furniture store, a theater. Now this is back in 1900s. What in the world did they watch? I bet if it wasn't silent movies, it was the next step up from them. Because in 1903, there couldn't have been too many, even westerns and stuff out by that time. They had a mortician, which, with everything that went on down there, I'll get to in a minute, they needed him. They had a drugstore, a shoe store, a dry cleaning, and later on in life, they even had a filling station. So they had plenty of stuff. This was a small town at the turn of the century, 1900s, that became known because they had coal and gold. I didn't know West Virginia had gold in it. Nobody's ever said anything to me about gold being anywhere, but sure enough, there's gold down there in them there hills. They had a doctor. They had a hotel. Well, they actually had 2 hotels. They had banks. All this stuff, because the people got so much money, the big guys, the elites of the coal mining industry, got so much money, instead of having to run out on the train even to go to Montgomery or, say, in Virginia to do their stuff, they could just do their banking right there in the town of Thurmond. So I'm sure that brought in people from all around the area that would do their banking. Now, not the coal miners themselves, because as I understand it, they would use script, which is a form of money that the coal mining companies gave the coal miners so they could go to the grocery store and use their script to buy their food with. Well, the traveling salesmen, it said in here, got the wind of that, and they would go and convince the store owners to get their products, and that way the coal miners could buy their products with the script instead of having the traveling salesman have to go around and see if they had any money. Of course, you know, nobody on the lower end of the universe had any money at that time. So the 2 hotels that was in the area was the Lafayette, or the Thurmond Hotel, and the Dunglen Hotel, which we'll get to in a minute. Thurmond is located, and still is, at milepost number 391. I'm assuming that's milepost 391 on the railroad station, is what I'm thinking it is. And it's still very active. Like I said, when me and Timmy was down there was either 2 or 3 trains went through. And one of them was a very long train. Very long train. I know you can take the Amtrak through the gorge. You know, just on a little trip. You probably could go from Huntington to Prince. That'd be a cute little ride. But you'd have to have somebody at Prince that could take you back to Huntington. Or get back on the train when it comes through and ride back to Huntington. Because it would be a cute little ride just to go through and see all the different areas. We see them. I live here, so we've seen different areas of the gorge, but it would be different seeing it from the actual train itself. I know in the fall, there's a steam engine train. I don't know whether the steam engine part still runs or not, but it used to be. It might just be a regular train that goes from Huntington all the way up. I think it might be Thurmond as far as they go up. Or it might be Prince that they go to. And then you get off, you have lunch, and then you turn around and get back on and ride back down. Later on, after Thurmond was no longer existent, after the town went to, everybody left when the mines got all blown out. Mm-hmm. Literally, some of them actually exploded. There was one explosion that killed like 24 people, one that killed 6 people, and then after a while, it just, the coal was all gone, so they just moved out of there, and then the people that lived there couldn't make any money, so they had to move on up into Oak Hill, Fayetteville, and places like that. Then came in Wild Water Unlimited. I'm thinking, not knowing, but I'm thinking that was run by John Dragon. He was one of the first rafter people that came into our area. I don't know if he was born here. Hey, Betty. I hear you got some snow. Hey, Rob. Hey, Frankie. Hey, Joel. Hey, Pam. Sorry. Guys, I'm all interested in this, and I forgot to even look. Yeah, Glen Jean. Yeah. This thing goes so fast if you don't watch what you're doing. I'm just going to read the comments. Yeah, I was pretty clever of those salesmen. I mean, if you can't get any money out of somebody, you know, work with what you got. If the people in the country stores, which made sense because, you know, they would have food brought in, but they wouldn't have all the specialty items that would be needed from time to time, a coffee pot or a pot frying pan or, you know, even a mop and a broom. That wouldn't come naturally to a food store, but these traveling salesmen bringing them in would then be able to sell their wares through the company store. They'd get paid through the company store. The company store would still get the script from the miners, so evidently that was a win-win. Back to John Dragon. Thurmond was then brought back into the news, so it became a new place for people to come and do river trips on rafts. In the summer of 1977, I was alive and married at the time, but you know, I don't remember, probably didn't have time to watch TV. I don't know. Maybe they didn't advertise it because she is so popular. But according to this, Lady Bird Johnson, which was Lyndon Baines Johnson, our president, came and rode the river. She came down and stayed at the Bankers Club for 2 nights and then rode the river. So that was pretty influential people that come, and they said there's been several dignitaries, senators, legislators, governors, important people that have come down and rode the rapids since. And I know that to be true because the people would come and stay with us, important people at Hawks Nest Lodge. They'd come and stay at our place, and then they would be set up for a river rafting trip with one of the rafting companies in the area. So that was pretty cool. Another story that come out of Thurmond is about a sheriff by the name of Harrison Ash. This is interesting. He was a Western-style sheriff. He kept the rules and regulations that he wanted to in Thurmond. And there was enough to keep, because I'll get into the Dunglen Hotel here in a minute. But anyway, he had a reputation, I believe, of killing 14 men during his sheriffsville. And there was a big scuffle in Montgomery, West Virginia. And one guy had got killed, and the other guy was holed up in a hotel. And he said he was not giving himself up. He was not coming out unless he could talk to or see Harrison Ash. Well, somehow they got the message to him, because, you know, back then there wasn't very much way of doing it except riding the train up and back. So Harrison got on the train and rode the 30 miles into Montgomery, and he got out of the train and he headed towards that hotel or bar, wherever it was at. And said the guy come out, shot at him, and he shot the other guy and killed him. Now that was one story, and the other story says a whole different story, a whole different thing. Said that after he shot this man, now he done killed 14 men before this one, but after he shot this one particular man, he rented a horse. He rode that horse all the way to his brother's house, and he sat and had dinner and a nice little conversation, drinking a little bit on the front porch. Next day he got up and he rode off into the wilderness. He never said a word to anybody about killing that man. And then Charleston Gazette come up talking to the people and told them what happened. And he said he never said a word. So the other side of the story was that he come into town and there was this one guy walking down the railroad track and he was following him. And he just stopped where he was at, aimed that gun and shot him. He said, "Oh, I guess fellas, I stumped my toe and I killed him." So which story was it? I don't know. But these stories come out of the Fayette County History 1993. So if anybody ever at the library or wherever you can find that book and look it up on Harrison Ash, you'll see that story was an interesting story to come to light. in 1902 in Thurmond was the first telephone exchange. They put it in Thurmond. That shows you the degree of importance that Thurmond had in this area at the turn of the century. Now you fast forward that to 1914, 1915, when Granddaddy and Grandma Wilson lived at Hawk's Nest, which was just a short space from where Thurmond was as the train goes. So how many people that was in Thurmond passed by Hawk's Nest on the way to Thurmond or the way out of there? How many people just walked down the railroad tracks? How many people, didn't make it, because they fell in the water or they come across a snake? It's just things like that that, that gets lost in history. Nobody knows because nobody thought to keep up with it. But my grandma and Granddaddy Wilson lived in Hawk's Nest because they had a daughter that passed away in 1916 at Hawk's Nest. My Grandma Johnson, who was born in 1918, was born at Hawk's Nest. So, it's just a matter of, when you're looking up stuff, see how it, you can tie that in. You can see how the history of West Virginia is a big, strong history. Now, we've always been belittled as being a little state and being hillbillies, but that's not the fact. There was lots of people that wanted to come and visit us when the booming towns was going on, when coal was popular, when everything. In 1911 or 1910, W.D. Thurmond died. In 1911, Preston Henderson took over as being mayor of Thurmond. But in 1910, Thurmond handled more freight than Cincinnati, Richmond, or Charleston. They did it. They handled over 4 million tons of freight through Thurmond. And it only was a little over $4 million. So it must have been either right at $1 or just over $1 per pound, per ton of whatever they sent. So can you imagine what them poor little coal miners was paid? Hardly nothing. But they survived, because if they didn't survive, we wouldn't be here. Then there was over 76,000 passengers on a train that passed through Thurmond. That's a lot of people. And they spent over $53,000 in order to be able to, pass through, or eating. Or there was another story in there about a gentleman. He was the porter on the trains, and he would go out and he would call and say, all aboard, you know how they do. And then he would send people off in the train. And then whenever he'd go in and change his outfit for whenever the train was coming in, he'd have a different outfit on. And he would welcome them all to Thurmond. And then, after that was all done, he'd go in and put another outfit on. Now, this is 3 outfits this man had to change into every day, because he also fixed their lunches. He fixed fried chicken and stuff like that they could purchase to eat on their train trip the rest of the way on down the road. So, they were busy people and workers. Workers. That brings me to the Dunglen Hotel. Dunglen Hotel was a 100-room hotel. Some say it was 3 stories tall. Some say it was 4.5 stories tall. It's burned down now. Nobody's going to actually know except for the pictures, and you can't really tell from the pictures whether or not it is actually 3 or 4 stories. But it was called the Dodge City of the East, that hotel was. It was the one that was run by the Thomas McKeel that I said earlier. He ran it for a while, and he died, I think, in 1903, and then his son took over. And it was what you can imagine about anything of the Wild West. It was one of those places where they could drink, where they could carouse with the ladies, where they could have a meal, where they could set up a poker game, where they could do, even just heaven forbid, just regular overnight sleepings. They had meetings. The coal barons had meetings there. Said one of the coal mines were sold for a remarkable amount of $1 million. Can you imagine what $1 million would have bought in the 1900s? That would have been crazy. I'd like to have $1 million now, although it wouldn't go very far, but you know, it is what it is. But they were infamous for gambling, drinking, and prostitution. They would do anything and everything. Of course, the miners, they didn't have anything else to do once the mines was shut down, unless they were married and had to go home and help the wife with the garden. And half the time, you know, they would rather go do the drinking carousing over across the road. But poker was the staple in the thing. So let's get to... It says the Dunglin Hotel was one of 2 hotels in the Thurmond area. Thomas McKeel was given 12,500 acres in Fayette County when he married Mrs. Jean Dunn of Chillicothe, Ohio. That was it says it was a wedding present. The other guy said it was a part of their inheritance that they got. So I don't know which it is. But they had the area's largest, it's known for the area's largest coal mine transaction, the world's longest continuous poker game at 14 years. Now, who sat in a chair for 14 years and played poker? Did they cut it off at a certain time of night and start back up the next morning? How in the world do you play a 14-year poker game? Who was playing it? Who had money to play 14 years? Did they play with so many people and then as they dropped out or lost their money, somebody else come in? They just kept the same poker game going? It does not tell me. So I do not know. But I thought that was interesting that it was the place of the 14-year poker game. Now, it says it's in the Guinness Book of World Records and Ripley's, believe it or not. However, I have not seen that. I looked up Ripley's, and the one that they were talking about was for 115 hours up in New York City. So I cannot verify that that's a true statement, but that is what every book that you see and everything that you know about it says. Now to the interesting fact about W.D. Thurmond. When I was reading it in this book here, this was a book that was given to me when I retired. I requested it because they always gave everybody a plaque with how many years you worked. I wasn't interested in that, but I was interested in this book. So in this book, it says that William was wed to Sarah Jane Bibb, daughter of Charles and Elizabeth Gatewood Bibb. And it said the well-known Reverend Martin Bibb was a brother to Sarah Jane. Well, that piqued my interest, guys, because I know when I've been doing the research, the Bibbs come down, if anybody's interested in, the Bibbs come down through the Wilson side on our family. So that's how my dad, his mom was a Wilson. So this comes down through the Wilson side. Anyway, so I got my little computer program out here, and I went to looking, and I did not have it in there, although I knew it was. But when I went to looking further into it and found Charles Bibb and Elizabeth Gatewood, I found Sarah Jane. So believe it or not, the William Dabney Thurmond, right there. The guy that Thurmond is named after is actually kin to me. Now, how close is the world that the person, that the town that I was going to do, that he was named after him, is actually a distant in-law of the Wilson family. Now, I just think that it was one of the most amazing things, and the reason that I say that is because I found that just after I finished the introduction to my new YouTube channel. If any of y'all want to check it out, it's going to be a family history channel. It is going to be me delving into helping everybody to start looking for their ancestors, start looking for their information. And I'm going to journal my information, what I have already collected over the years. I'm going to go through and journal it. I'm going to put into Sarah Jane Thurmond's paper that, you know, how she is kin to us, how this comes down, how Thurmond was named after her husband. Now, her husband, Captain W.D. Thurmond, was in the Civil War. He actually was one of the leaders of, let me see if I can find the name of his crew here, the Partisan Rangers in the Civil War. He was a Confederate. He was tasked from the Confederacy to find all horses that he could find that they could use. Some of them he got right, and some of them he took with a little bit of power of the gun. But I guess during a war, some things they think is more needed than others. Now, did they think that taking the horse away from a family that only had a horse was going to end up making it hard on them? Well, I guess in their mindset, that if they didn't do that and they didn't have enough horses to run the Civil War with, they weren't going to win. And guess what? They didn't win anyway. But they give it a good, valiant effort. So I'm going to leave it at that. I'm going to check a few of y'all's comments before I get out of here. And I hope you enjoy this little tidbit on Thurmond. If you have an area in West Virginia that you would like for me to do a little bit of in-depth searching for, please let me know. I'm going to be working on Fayette County to start with, because that's, of course, where I live. Me and Timmy, hopefully a few others, is going to get out and go riding around and do a little bit of talking and trying to figure out some information that I don't know. All my learning about the area is basically either what Timmy tells me or what I read in a book. So I would like to experience. I would like to start on a road and ride from the one end of the road to the other and see what's important, see what's exciting, see what might have happened on that road several years ago or 100 years ago. See what roads did they travel during the Civil War. I'm getting excited about it if this snow ever goes away. But let me check the comments here. See if there's any of them that I need to respond to real quick. 8 inches of snow, Betty. That's something. Yeah, I can imagine. Because, that's what we said in North Carolina when we was down at that time and the snow come in and everything was shut down. Schools was shut down for a week and everything. I mean, it would be beautiful and sunshiny and the roads would be clear in the day, say from noon to 5. And then it would be wet and it would freeze over to nighttime, so the school buses couldn't run. So anything south that doesn't normally get snow, really, if they are hit like this is, it's hard on them. It really is. It's real hard. All right, guys, it looks to me like I have done a lot of research, but I was so tickled to find that one little bit of information, especially after I had already done the intro, which I'm getting ready to load up. It is called Journal Thru, T-H-R-U. I spelled it wrong on purpose. Journal Thru Life from Beginning. And it is going to be up and live tomorrow. If you want to watch my introduction, that would be great. But it's going to be bringing you a little how-to, a little journaling, a little talking, just like we do on this channel or on this Facebook group. Just a little bit of that, this and the other. I can't do lives until I get, I think it's 1,000 subscribers on that channel, but I'm hoping it doesn't take a long time to get that done. Because I do like the lives. I enjoy talking to you guys. I enjoy seeing your comments and trying to talk to you while we're doing this. So, get a chance, check it out. And until next Wednesday when we do our Facebook Live crafts, we'll see you then. Bye-bye, guys.